Hi guys, so this is something new today. This is a new segment called Other Battles, Other Things, where we're going to run back a game that we just played and sort of talk about
What a
some
delightful
of,
name.
yeah, another set. So I guess like every piece of content we do, we'll just have a shout out to Mike Woznicki in it. So here's another one.
Yes, sir.
This was his idea.
The man behind the curtain.
He really is like we're a couple of mooks that run our gums, but he's really the brains of the operation. So what we're gonna do here is sort of talk about the game and pivotal points in the game, and talk about other lines we could have taken or things that we thought were important. So start, we're here at the first attack in the game, about 9 minutes into the game, um, and this is the
Right, and
attack.
so this is my first attack against Jesse. Yep. And this is probably, one of the things that happens in L5R is it's a game of progressions. And so sometimes you sort of start down one path, and once you're on that path, it becomes harder and harder to get yourself out of your specific road. I felt compelled to attack because I had this really powerful hand. I had the victory through deference, and I had the Ring of Earth, and I had the stealing advantage. So I knew I could get in there, shut off the ward, get through the favor, and potentially hit the stronghold and just all kinds of stuff. I really liked that spot for my hand. I didn't even end up needing the victory through deference. It was really just stealing. But what's overlooked is the investment I made to put those skeletal troops down and how that might impact my ability to continue to go wide in the future. I might have been better off saving that gold, using my flips, buying another personality with the 4 gold. I'm being a little bit presumptuous, assuming that I'm going to flip another guy. But if I don't flip another guy, then I probably just get 2 more holdings, and that's also really good for me. Um, because I took a sort of who's the beatdown role. And I said, I'm going to come out fast and I'm going to come out first. And I was highly incentivized because I really wanted to kill the Dark Naga. But what I did is I completely forgot about his sensei, which meant that there was no way I was going to take the Dark Naga. Like there was no chance he wasn't going to defend. He was absolutely going to defend. So at the very least, maybe I should have not shut down on the Ward of Air and just run into the favor or run in. But the way and there might be a bluffs attack where I put the skeletal troops down attack with not enough province crushing force. He's probably committed to defending anyway because he has to worry about things like bleak lands or other kind of nonsense. But I think this is where it started to go wrong for me, and it didn't feel like it was going wrong for me right here because I won the battle and I gained some honor and I got to ward the air off. But what I didn't do is properly consider who the real threat is. A 4/4 Shugenja with a Ward of Air isn't actually a threat. He's not even an air Shugenja. So one of the mistakes I made is I sort of said, okay, I gotta go now. I gotta go now. He has a guy, and I gotta go to the Dark Naga. And I think that was a mistake. Sometimes in a game of Alpha, you have to say, okay, something bad is going to happen, but how can I better respond? And I think the better response would have been to not put the skeletal troops down yet, buy 5 cards out of 4 provinces, and sort of try to get to a position where he might have a Dark Naga who can bow for range 3 attack and, you know, make a range 9 or whatever, but sort of try to play through that and sit on my stealing advantage and sit on my victory through deference until for sure I have a good province crushing force.
Yeah, and on my end, so I made some maybe questionable decisions leading up to this point about my gold development. I held this personality that is in play here on my turn two, and that was maybe questionable. But I ended up being happy to bring him out because if I didn't, then he definitely would take the Dark Naga here, and this would be a much different game. But the other thing is, if you look at my hand, I could have moved in a lot more on this battle. So first off, I could have played the second Ward of Air. I didn't because I correctly read Victory to Deference, but not Steal and Advantage. So after he played the first Steal, I was kind of like, man, I wish I played that Ward of Air. But you never want to be like that because if I had played both and then he just VTD'd me, that would have been even worse. And not having the double Ward of Air on the Dark Naga later would have been relevant. The other thing is that he bows my guy with a Fear 6, and then I could have just straightened. Excuse me. I could have feared his skeletal troops and then straightened with the Ring of Air. Um, to speed bump if
But
he had any sort of
that's
other
not the
force bump.
positive gain, right? Your guy's only 4 4.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm saying like if
You get no, because I have 5 4s to your
yeah,
so
yeah, I'm saying if there was a need to speed bump, I had that play. Sorry, I'm not being very clear. So like I think that's why I thought this was a pretty safe defense all in all. Like I needed to save the Dark Naga. I recognized right away that he was my game plan. And because he was my game plan, it meant I needed to save as many of my fake cards as humanly possible. That being said, like if he sent me home, I could have back to the front and back in just to speed bump. If he bowed my guy and somehow generated force, I could have strayed to defense. So this was an easy defense for me. And I think in another universe, you could have sucked some more resources out of my hand for those later battles, because like getting one of the straightens or one of the back to the fronts would have been relevant later. But it didn't work out that way.
yep.
And so this is maybe the most relevant point. I think Paul will have a lot to say about this battle because this is sort of where the wheels fall off the cart for you, right?
Right. So I decided to split, and I liked my thought process there. And I'm not even sure the split was wrong. I mean, having Society with the followers doesn't give me I mean, it gives me more force and sort of forces a specific favor usage. It might adjust the sequencing of your plays. I don't know if it affects the overall tenure. The one of the big mistakes I made. So I got one guidance off with the suffer, but I didn't use Kepo right away. So there's a huge sequencing mistake, and you would later down the line hit me with double water there. So one of the plays I should have went to straight away is Keppel, right? You went, or you didn't shoot Did you shoot Keppel first?
Yeah,
No,
so
because
this is
you
actually
used you went range 3 on my guy
yeah, and then you went VTD. So I actually had a huge
without
sequencing error
bowing
myself.
because that's how you have to.
Yeah,
Right.
what I should have done for my first action
Yep.
was because you hadn't
Well,
you
I
hadn't
think you didn't want to
VTD'd
bow, and
you hadn't VTD to remove my stuff yet. So my first action should have been Sensei to Bao Keppo, and that was a
yep.
big mistake that you didn't punish me for making, but a mistake nonetheless.
And definitely, as a general rule in L5R, you always want to try to get the value out of your personalities in play first, of your cards in play first, because specifically your personalities, like a sensei is gonna hang around, but you want to use your because personalities are not they don't live forever. They're not things that just always are there for you. They
Those
have
ones
a
that you
tendency
messed
to get
with, yeah.
bowed and killed and sent home. So Keppo is overwhelmingly the clear target here, and I was pretty sure he'd open with a range 3 because of the way the sequencing worked with having to bow. But I didn't use my Keppo when I could have. I blew a suffer, even though he had already used his range 3. And I think my thought process is I was worried about you Ward of airing home or something in your next action. But if you had done that, I could have just dropped a contentious take in the province. It would have been a highly unlikely play. It would have been, 17th level dimensional chess. And I just overthought it. I didn't properly prioritize. I didn't properly anticipate what the sequence of actions was going to be. And as a rule, you should use your onboard stuff first. And I got away from that, and I would be punished for it later in the game.
Well,
Everything else, I was actually fairly happy with. I was fairly happy with overwhelming offense. I was fairly happy with playing software. I was fairly happy with victory through deference. Like I felt like all that worked. It just it happened that Wing of Air plus Creating Order are two really good cards, and it got me a little bit. I mean that's just
yeah,
the thing that
that's
happens.
probably something that people hate about Ivory Edition. One of the reasons people are jumping to strict, I think, powerful, unique actions are a terrible play experience. Like using unique to balance power is not
Um,
good.
yeah, I mean it's something that I've become accustomed to. I've been playing up for so long that I used to lose games to Iris Festival, so I'm not going to pretend that like a Creating Order got me. But it does. It is hard in this situation because I have to sort of assume you don't have it because I'm not sure I can play around it if you do have it. But also, the game is at a point where information wise, I have no reason to believe you have it. I assume you would have it in the deck, but it's very, I mean, what's the chance that you have that card in your deck? Now, it's possible you have some other effect, right? Some other force negation. So I don't want to get caught up on the fact that it was creating order. Uh, but I felt like attacking was the right play for me here because I wasn't doing anything on defense. And if you're not defending and you're not attacking and you're playing a low honor corrupt military, like what exactly are you doing, right? Like if I just sort of sit here and build and you sit there and build and you draw some cards and I draw some cards, you're gonna beat me on card quality. I'm gonna beat you on raw number of cards probably, but you're just gonna crush me on card quality. And so I felt like this was the right attack, but I don't think I had handled the battle right. And there's some universe where you defend, and the -5 force get you, and that would be a good day for me.
For sure. Now, you don't regret the split looking back. You don't wish you had just gone all in on one,
I
taken
don't
it.
think so. I mean, I obviously we can do this if you don't split. What happens? But I think I'm making that split every day of the week. I think one of the best ways to handle one big unit that's got conqueror that's attacking and defending is to just say like, fine, I'll get you get some value. Um, there's an argument that I don't attack here this turn. You take one, and then I have a bunch more guys, and I just go for all three provinces, and I take two, and and something like that. But I think that splitting is a strategy that people don't like to employ. There's a certain psychological comfort in the all-in attack, but I think that trying to set up a situation where I just overpower you with my dirty dudes didn't feel like it would be a good way to go. I might be wrong there. I might be I might be sort of smarting so much from losing to Jade Ascension plus Final Ruin over and over and over again. But I was okay with the split. And I think I would make that split on most. That's how I am as a player. Like I'm making the split. I'm going for it.
No, I mean I like the split too. I think anything besides it is sort of results oriented thinking. But I mean, there's an argument like if you just go at one, you take the province for sure. But then I have a Dark Naga with Conquerors still. So I think one of the good things about the split is like I got you really bad and I killed your guys and like you lost the battle, but you also destroyed the attachment, which wasn't for nothing. And if you had used Kepo quick, if you had taken advantage of my mistake, destroyed a
Right,
wizard
and
there, and
I
then destroyed the other spell, you might have been able to rebuild into a winning game state there.
right, and I went for the split because I thought you would defend the way you defended. I thought you would go against the personalities to try to get the value out of your range 9 and your range 3. So I was pretty comfortable that I was going to split, you were going to defend it. Up until that point, everything was going exactly as I sort of expected it to, and I played my victory into deference, and I played my -5 force card, and I had my stuff right, and I was like, everything was sort of lining up how I thought it was going to line up, including my victory through deference to remove dead guys to shut down this attack. Everything was where I wanted it to be, and then I lost. And I lost because you get to play cards too, and I lost because I made some sort of miscalculations in terms of my sequencing. But I don't think that like I felt comfortable and confident in my game plan, and I think that you're in similar situations over enough time. There's ideally we could like play the game 18 different ways at 18 different decision points and sort of come to a best conclusion. But that's just not how L5R is. You have to go through sort of feel sometimes, and it felt right, and I sort of stand by that. I don't regret my attack there, even though I lost the game because of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, I'll start actually. Right, and so as we move to the next one, I'll say that one of the mistakes. I mean, this is a classic sort of player overconfidence. Is like things were going how they thought they would. So I knew what the cards did. I knew what you were sort of kind of going to do. And just because I know what you're going to do doesn't actually mean I can stop it. And I think
Yeah.
I sort of lulled myself into that trap. It's like I know what's going to happen. Ergo, I'll be able to counter it. And like, well, knowing is only half the battle.
Yeah, the rest of it is GI Joe. This is a little bit of a smaller decision point.
It's exactly
Um,
correct.
So we kind of had a little bit of like Jesse Paul drama, and like that's a thing about losing the game at that point. But as the game develops, it's not over. And at this turn
Okay.
here,
Okay.
I thought the
Excuse
game was
me.
getting
We
away
didn't
from
have
me.
any drama. You.
All right, look, I thought the game was getting away from me on this turn, and I was really concerned. Um,
Where's my damn wheat?
because I I needed to be able to attack and defend, but I only have one unit, and so obviously I need to make him a conqueror. Um, the other option is to try to defend with Alani, but I don't think there's any real universe where like an Alani defense gets me anywhere. I've got the tested blade in hand, so I could have gone like attach tested blade and then ride two fears and hope that that gets me there. But I don't think it would have gotten me there, to be perfectly honest. So I throw down this strength of the sixth ring, and I just decide like, all right, it's time to dig, dig, dig because there's only one card that's going to save me. So let's try to find it. And maybe Paul, you think that's a little bit too risky of a play, but I felt like this was a really solid play to your outs sort of turn that was worth highlighting.
No, I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's too risky. I don't know. Now that's a tough play to make. That's a really tough investment to make, right? I think a lot of players would struggle to do it, especially knowing the backlands in the deck, especially knowing there's sort of other personages that carry the water better. No, but I think that your sequence, your thought process there is spot on. You correctly said like the card I want is guidance. The card I care about is guidance. Everything else is of a lower value, and I think that calculation sells me on it. I don't know if I was there at that point in the game speed, but listening to you, I think that's absolutely correct. I think you say, at this moment in the game, there's 2 copies of guidance left in my deck, and I value those, 10 out of 10, and every other card is like a 7 out of 10, and
Yeah.
so I'm just going to burn to get the big gun, and I think that's the right play to make. Now, it works for you, I think, best because you have enough other draws that are like okay. Like a Stones of Purity is like okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another Strength ring is like okay. So if it was a calculation where 80% of my draws are terrible, but 20% are great, then I probably don't want to pay the cost of bowing the personality. But because the average quality of your draw is, good, and it has the potential to be a home run, I feel like it's probably the right play.
Well, so for
Because the
example,
opportunity cost is significant, but not unstoppable.
like look at the board state that I've got loaded up here. This is your turn, and you're about to attack with your suited up guy. So if I don't attach
Also,
the
you
spell
have the
and
knowledge of
cast,
knowing that you have no defensive play other than favor. Yeah.
yeah. So like,
Yep.
so yeah.
So,
Suppose that I mean, no, I think I get you with favor. It turns out. So like, should I
right,
mean,
but you don't know that. No, you don't get me with favor. I have the discovering the swift sword to get open road terrain.
yeah, okay, fair enough. So yeah, you totally get me.
So you don't
And
get me with favor at all.
so
Now
like,
you have resilient, so it doesn't cost you anything.
yeah,
So it costs you, you defend, you favor, I take the province, you resilient. So I mean, it's not like you lose a lot. You just lose a fate card, but I think you're going to lose the province anyway. So yeah, I think the fate card's absolutely the play.
yeah. Now,
Uh,
I mean, maybe I could have
and
saved.
knowing that, I guess there's
I've got double fear. So
you
like, the
thinking you could
alternative
use
play
the
is like I attach the tested blade, and then I defend, and then I fear. Like I fear your guy with
yeah,
tested
you go
blade, then I
double
Akikazu
fear.
Sensei to fear,
Yeah.
and then like hope that gets me
So
there.
if you fear my guy, I go incapacitated, and then I tutor up the lakeside to straighten my follower. So I like that doesn't save you, right? You get 1 fear. I guess you have back to the front. You could come back.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a different game. Though I would probably use my discipline. So one play I missed, and I see it now, and I missed it multiple times that game, is using the discipline or the anti-movement strategy card. So I could have sent you home. You play back to the front. I play my card to stop you from moving in, and then I tutor up Lakeside to straighten my follower. So I mean,
yeah,
I was getting this province sort of independent of what you did. It looks like, which
yeah,
just makes the draw the card play even better. And there's something to be said for the sort of safety of it. To say like, if I go to battle, there's all these variables, and I don't have a lot of really strong cards, and I need things to line up. And it's like, as opposed to if I get guidance, I win. Go for the win.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, last segment. This is the battle where Paul Crystal Tears my Dark Naga, and I decide to sort of jump around and attacking guys instead of just taking a province.
Right, and that was an interesting play and a good play, and it forced me to play some cards. I think the whole thing goes back to should I have bothered to defend? I blew a tutor card and Crystal Tears, um, and multiple incapacitated, all in an attempt to save a province. And the thought process, which I articulated at the time, was like, I need to try to slow you down. I'm not sure that's right. I'm not sure I'm not supposed to let you take the province, swing all my guys, and just try to trade on math. At this point, you haven't broken the serve. So I think the way I was forced to commit because of your cavalry, I probably should just let this go. And I think that's another sort of generally true rule of L5R, where it's like, don't worry about it till you get to the point where you start to have to worry about it. And in my head, I had less provinces than what I really had. I had 3 provinces to your 2. Why am I stressing about losing one? And I don't have an answer to that. I was feeling. I felt like maybe I could just get you. I guess, which is, I mean, a little ambitious. And I think I let you had sort of needled me into a mopey pants position with your whole, "Are we still going to keep playing?" You had sort of talked me down and lowered my self-esteem because I'm such a sensitive soul, that I think I sort of felt further behind than I really am.
Now there was a potential Lippens in this battle. I will admit that, like, when I attacked and you defend with just Bryn, and then I was like, "Well, I'm cavalry, you know." You're like, "Oh, I do know. I'll defend with everybody." Um, but that aside, I think that if you thought you were gonna just get me with Crystal Tears, that's ludicrous because I've got the printed Ward of Air in play, right? So like, there's no way that you
Well, you
save a
have Ward of
province.
Air to go home. So my hope was I Crystal Terrors Waterham to go home bowed, and that's a win for me, like a big win even.
Yeah, fair enough. Then you can set up coming back for 2 next turn. Yeah, I guess if I don't have a strain effect here, I do just
Yeah,
lose the game. Um, so it's not
right.
the worst play in the world, but
And you had burnt a creating order and a ring of air, and I was fairly kind of like, how many more straight effects are in the deck? And this is another situation where if I hadn't discarded my stupid, uh, whatever brazened disregard, if I hadn't so brazenly disregarded brazen disregard, I could have like had it to eat one back to the front. I mean, there's definitely some plays in Mojo to happen, but you got to play the games, and I know what my thought process is. I think my big mistake is I started myself down a path incorrectly by overvaluing that singular province. Always attack, never defend, that kind of thing. And
yeah.
I ended up having to post some incapacitated, and it got ugly quick. And all the stuff you did was on the board. I just wasn't looking for it or seeing it, and you looked for it and saw it. And, if I had played my Kepo back properly 18 turns back, you only have 1 Ward of Air. So you I mean, it's just, you see now how those small plays, the things we talk about in terms of, we use the phrase incremental advantage a lot, but you see now how sort of the small plays add up to a big picture, which ends up with me just sort of getting rolled.
Well, I don't know if it was a roll, but definitely mistakes were made on both ends, and I ended up squeezing it out on the strength of powerful uniques, which always feels nice. Anyway, though, this is our new little segment. Other battles, other things. Let us know what you thought of it. If you think it's worthwhile, we'll start doing them after every vid. Otherwise, you try stuff. People call you stupid, and you eat a bowl of ice cream and cry about it. I'm Jesse.
It's
That's Paul.
I like to eat my ice cream. Have a good day, everyone.